drive a stick, it gets chicks. Hey guys, I'm Nate. Welcome back to the channel. So we're going to be talking today about why you should learn to drive a manual. A few key points. All right, we're driving around downtown Miami right now. Doesn't look like there's too much traffic out here. But yeah, we're in the manual cat. So why should you learn how to drive a manual? First real simple one, even though these are becoming harder and harder to find, usually the manual transmission costs less than the automatic equivalent. Now, for some reason, I'm not sure what's going up in Canada. Any of y'all from Canada, please weigh in here, but the manual transmission Hellcat is actually an upcharge to the automatic transmission one. So I thought that was kind of weird. It's usually the opposite. Like here in the States, manual transmission is default option. If you want the automatic, that's $3 grand. So if you know how to drive a manual, you could save $3 grand. So another reason, this kind of goes on that same point of saving some cash. Let's say you take a vacation, right? Let's say you go to Europe, for example. Everyone likes a nice little European vacation every now and then, right? Go to Europe for the summer, beautiful. Well, guess what? You're gonna need a car to get around. Most European cars are not automatic. You can get automatics. I mean, they have Mercedes, BMWs, Peugeots with the automatic transmission, but it's not really common out there. It's actually very common for people to drive manual transmission cars. And so if you want to get like a compact car, economy car, most of them are manual transmission cars. So you'd probably end up spending more and having less availability if you really needed to find an automatic car in Europe. What is going on here? This is complete chaos right here. I like getting the Hellcat, you know, you put in the gear. Actually, that's the thing with this car. Also with the manual transmission, it's got so much torque. You know, if I just leave this thing in third gear, I'm still pretty much good to go wherever I need. Get out of a pickle. Wow, I was on traffic today. Lunchtime traffic. Well, I guess you're gonna see how manual does in traffic. Manual Hellcat. See, what's awesome about the Hellcat manual, this car has so much power that you really don't need to shift that much. Like, I just kept it in second gear and I can pretty much just go everywhere in second gear. Now this car also has pretty wide range in gears. Like, I think you can get up to 66 miles per hour in first gear. It does make it pretty easy to drive around because of that, if you're gonna stop and go traffic. Clutch also, I feel, is very soft in this car, so it doesn't feel like it puts a lot of strain. All right, so we covered the cost factors for why getting a manual, why at least learning how to drive a manual, even if you're not gonna get a manual car as your daily driver, could be good. Now, having a manual car as your daily driver just allows you to practice that, but still, there's something to keep in mind. So another reason, your chances for learning how to drive a manual or finding a manual car dwindling. Every year, less and less cars are coming to the market with a manual transmission. At some point, there's not going to be anyone left to teach you how to drive a manual car because no one's going to know how to drive it. I guess that gets into the fact that at some point, cars are just going to be driving themselves, so you probably won't even know how to drive, but that's besides the point. If it's something you've ever thought about, now is probably as good a time as any, really, to just get on the bandwagon and start learning. Now, another reason, I know this is far-fetched, but let's say in your situation, you got to get out of some kind of pickle you're in. There's a car, just happens to be a manual. What are you going to do if you don't know how to drive a manual? You find that YouTube video and figure it out, like, on the fly? Well, if you already knew how to drive a manual, it just opens up your options, right? You can drive an automatic, you can drive a manual, you can pretty much drive whatever you need, whenever you need to drive that car. So there's really no downside in learning how to drive a manual from that standpoint. Which brings me to my next point, which is, it's pretty easy. I learned how to drive a manual because I ordered a car. It was an Infiniti G35 with a manual transmission, and I had to learn how to drive it. Otherwise, when that car came in, I was going to be stuck with a car that I couldn't figure out how to drive. I asked my dad to teach me how to drive a manual transmission. Luckily at that time, we had a friend that had a really old Acura Integra that they were willing to kind of lend us so we could, you know, so he could teach me how to drive it. We went around the block, so he taught me, look, this is how you got to just kind of balance the clutch when you're just taking off from a start. And then after you're in first gear, it's pretty easy to go through the gears. I made some mistakes. I drove that car for about a week. I made some mistakes driving where I downshifted one time from 5th to 2nd by accident instead of 5th to 4th. I think another time I did shift where I was trying to go from 4th to 3rd but went 4th to 1st by accident. Yeah, not great. But I learned from those mistakes, and pretty quickly by the end of the week, would I have called myself a manual expert? Of course not, but I was pretty comfortable, to the point that when I picked up my car and drove it back home in bumper-to-bumper traffic, had to do some clutch balancing on overpasses, no big deal. Notably absent from this list, you know, people say, oh yeah, you know, drive a stick, it gets chicks. Yeah, driving a stick doesn't get chicks, all right? You drive a stick, you drive a manual because you want to enjoy that car. Girls could care less what kind of transmission you have in your car. So if you want to get a manual transmission, get a manual transmission because you want to, not because you think magically it's going to help you get a date, because it won't. If anything, these cars and manual transmissions are probably more sausage magnets than anything else. Another reason is you might find that you really like driving a manual transmission. I mean, you can't say that if you never tried it. I feel it's very engaging to drive a manual transmission car. I feel like you just feel like you're much more control of the car. Yeah, it may not be faster than the automatics these days, but you just have a much higher sense of control over the car in terms of what you can do. Plus that sense of just engagement, you know, rev match downshifting to take a pass to a pass. It's a lot of fun. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this one. Check out these next videos, and I'll see you there. Thanks. Bye.